June 12, 1964. The Republic of South Africa. The Palace of Justice, Pretoria. The verdict was read aloud. Life imprisonment. Silence fell over the courtroom. Nelson Mandela turned to his supporters and gave a quiet, yet powerful signal. It was not the face of fear. It was the face of resolve. Nearly 2 months before the verdict, April 20th, 1964, he had stood in the witness box and delivered a statement that would echo through history. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve, but if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. The courtroom fell silent. Those words traveled beyond the walls of the court. They reached every corner of the world. The story begins 20 years earlier, 1944. Nelson Mandela, 26 years old. He joined the African National Congress, the ANC, South Africa's oldest black political organization. That same year, he helped found the ANC Youth League, committing himself to a more radical movement for change. South Africa at the time was a society ruled by a white minority. Black people could not vote. Black people could not stand for election. Black people could not ride buses reserved for whites. They could not set foot on whites-only beaches. A system called apartheid had taken root in every corner of the country. At first, Mandela believed. He believed in the power of words and the law. He believed that nonviolent resistance could bring change. But the white government would not listen. Black people were required to carry passbooks at all times. They could only live in designated areas. They could only hold designated jobs. Mandela organized strikes, boycotts, marches, and still the regime crushed them, arrested the participants, suppressed them with violence. Something inside him began to shift. March 21st, 1960, Sharpeville. 69 black civilians were killed, and nearly 180 were wounded. Many had been shot in the back. They had been trying to run. Faced with this reality, Mandela thought long and hard. Could nonviolence alone bring change? That question weighed heavily upon him. 1961. Mandela made his decision. The turn to armed struggle. Umkhonto we Sizwe, the spear of the nation. He became its commander. But here is something crucial. In its early days, the strategy he chose centered on sabotage, targeted acts of destruction designed to avoid the loss of human life. Power facilities, railways, and government buildings were the targets. Apply pressure on the regime without killing people. Even so, this choice placed something heavy in his hands. It was a farewell to the younger man who had believed in nonviolence. Arrest. Trial. The prosecution sought the death penalty. Mandela knew. He knew where this trial was heading. And yet he continued to speak in that courtroom. I am not a criminal. I am a man who resisted an unjust system. The eyes of the world were fixed on this trial. And on June 12, 1964, the verdict was handed down. Life imprisonment. Not the gallows, but he was condemned to spend the rest of his life behind iron bars. Robben Island, 11 kilometers off the coast of Cape Town. A prison on a solitary island, battered by the waves of the South Atlantic. Here, the first 18 years of Mandela's imprisonment began. His cell measured roughly 1.8 by 2.4 meters. By day, he broke limestone at the quarry. White lime dust filled his eyes. In later years, his eyesight deteriorated severely. In the early period, correspondence and visits were strictly limited. Letters and visits were permitted only a handful of times, for only brief durations. Books sent to him were sometimes confiscated. His sense of time began to erode, and yet he did not break. In his cell, Mandela read books on law, books on history, books on philosophy. He wrote letters, when permitted, secretly on scraps of paper, when they were not. He studied, the Afrikaans language, the language of his jailers, so that he could understand them. He would later say, "I wanted to understand my enemy, not to hate them, but to speak with them." 27 years. His body was imprisoned, but his spirit remained free. 1976. In Soweto, black children rose up. They protested against government-imposed instruction in Afrikaans. Police opened fire. Hundreds died. The world shook. Free Mandela! That cry spread across borders and beyond. His name no longer belonged to a single prisoner. It had become the symbol of freedom for all of South Africa. The man behind iron bars was moving the world. The 1980s. The world had changed. The international community intensified economic sanctions against South Africa. Corporations withdrew. The country was barred from international sporting events. Isolation deepened. But sanctions alone did not topple the regime. A political crisis at home, deteriorating security, a stagnating economy. And as the Cold War ended, the international landscape itself was transformed. Multiple forces converged, and the options left to the regime narrowed rapidly. Within the South African government, voices began to emerge. The country cannot survive like this. And one man was approaching the moment of decision. Frederick Willem de Klerk, a white politician born into an Afrikaner family, a man who had stood on the side of the apartheid system, was now seated in the presidency. But he knew, if things continued as they were, South Africa would collapse. Civil war or liberation, destruction or negotiation. De Klerk thought long and hard, and then he made his decision. To face Mandela. Two men stood face to face for the first time. One, a white president holding all the power. The other, a black prisoner who had spent years in a cell. The talks began quietly. Mandela would later say, "He listened sincerely. I spoke sincerely." Trust is not built in a single night. But the dialogue had begun. February 11th, 1990. The prison doors opened. 18 years on Robben Island. Then transferred to other prisons. After 27 years in confinement, Nelson Mandela, 71 years old, he breathed the air of freedom. His right fist rose high once more. The world was watching from in front of their televisions. They had been waiting for this moment. The voices of the crowd surged like a wave, but Mandela did not weep. There must have been one question on his face. Now, what choice should I make? After his release, many people assumed that a man imprisoned for 27 years would unleash his fury, that he would cry out for vengeance against white rule. But Mandela was different. He said, "I did not leave prison to hate white people. I left to build a country where all South Africans can live together." This was not sentiment. It was a calculated choice. Retaliation would spark civil war. White citizens would flee. The economy would collapse. Forgiveness was the only path that could save the nation. Negotiations continued. The laws of apartheid were repealed, one by one. 1991. The laws that formed the bedrock of racial segregation were formally abolished. Across the world, there was applause. But this was not the finish line. The true question still lay ahead. Who will govern this country? 1993. Mandela and de Klerk were jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. A former prisoner and the former president who had stood on the side of his jailers stood together on the same stage. In his speech, Mandela said, "Peace is more powerful than complete disarmament, and it requires more courage than war." The world watched. The moment history bent. April 27th, 1994. For the first time in South African history, people of all races cast their votes. Black citizens stood before a ballot box for the very first time in their lives. Outside the polling stations, long lines stretched into the distance. People waited for hours. No one left. May 10th, 1994. Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as president of the very country that had imprisoned him for 27 years. chosen by all its people, the first democratically elected president. In his inaugural address, he said, "Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another." South African Air Force jets flew over Pretoria, the same military that had once defended apartheid. Today, it saluted the president of all the people. Even after becoming president, Mandela's trials continued. How to reckon with the past. He chose not punishment, but truth. Not revenge, but understanding. Through legislation in 1995, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was established, with Desmond Tutu as its chairman. Perpetrators came forward and confessed their crimes in public. Victims bore witness. Truth was told in exchange for amnesty. It was not a perfect solution. Many survivors and bereaved families were enraged. Why are they not being punished? But Mandela said, "To hold on to hatred is to chain yourself." 1999. Mandela stepped down from the presidency. He had decided from the beginning, one term only. Many leaders cannot let go of power. But Mandela let it go willingly. Democracy is not one hero ruling forever. On the day he transferred power to his successor, he said, "Now, this country is yours." He was not a man who sought power. He was a man who used power to achieve his purpose. And even in the way he departed, he was extraordinary. December 5th, 2013. Nelson Mandela left this world at the age of 95. Flags were lowered to half-mast around the globe. Among the tributes and eulogies, the words most often quoted were those he had spoken in that courtroom in April 1964. "It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." But he did not die. He lived to see it. In the very country that had imprisoned him for 27 years. The day every citizen held an equal vote. And in 2024, the ANC, the party he built, lost its parliamentary majority for the first time since the end of apartheid. But that, too, was proof that democracy was working. A country where the balance of power shifts through peaceful elections. The seed Mandela planted had grown that far. Let me tell you about one prison cell. A small stone room, just a few paces across. A man was confined there for 27 years. That man could have held on to hatred. He could have sworn vengeance. He could have kept the fires of rage burning. But he made a different choice. Forgiveness is not weakness. He proved it. That forgiveness is the most powerful weapon of all. The reason South Africa did not descend into civil war comes down to one man's choice. 27 years could not extinguish the hatred within him, and yet, forgiveness saved a nation. Now, I want to ask you something. History only tells us the outcomes, but the people living through it stood before a choice every single day. If you had been unjustly robbed of everything for 27 years, on the day of your release, what would you choose? And one more question. In your own life, when you chose to forgive, and when you chose to hold hatred, which one made you stronger? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Here on this channel, Blueprint of Giants, we explore the decisions and strategies of history's great figures, not as cold facts, but as human drama. Why did they make the choices they made? What did they fear? What did they believe? There you will find wisdom that transcends time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. Until next time,